enjoy your all-new brake system, you little green money pit. Oh, I have had, I mean, in the grand scheme of car ownership, it hasn't been bad. I'm just not used to it, and it has stressed me the hell out. But boy, this car has given me some issues over the past 3-4 weeks. Only with its brakes, only with the front brakes. 3-4 weeks ago, I don't remember now, it got the passenger side brake caliper replaced because that caliper was sticking. And then a couple of weeks after that, it got new rotors and new pads, because those had to be replaced, especially on the passenger side, because the sticking caliper basically destroyed the rotor and brake pad that were there. And then 2 days after that was done, and that was done on both sides, new pads and rotors. 2 days after that was done, I was on my way to the TV station, got on the highway, and noticed this thing would not shift into overdrive. Let off the gas, it shifted into overdrive. As soon as I put my foot on the gas, it shifted back into third gear. In addition to that, I heard a noise coming from the front left side, and I knew exactly what was happening. The front driver's side caliper was sticking in the very same way the passenger side was, and the wheel was dragging hard. And I was 20 minutes from home, about 10 minutes from Mom's house, so I had to limp this thing back to Mom's house. Despite the fact that I went like 40 kilometers an hour the whole way back to Mom's house with my hazards on, the wheel was still smoking hot by the time I got back to Mom's house. And for the past 2 weeks, this thing has sat. And I've had to borrow Mom's car for the past 2 weeks, which hasn't been fun for either of us. But I'm very thankful that Mom allowed me to do that. And now today, the front driver's side caliper has been replaced, and this thing is on the road again for the first time in 2 weeks. And I am not taking any chances. So as soon as there's a nice area to pull over, I'm going to pull over again. I just pulled over a few minutes ago and feel both the front wheels to make sure nothing's sticking again. Although the thing's sitting in overdrive right now, so I think we're fine. He obviously gave it quite an extended test drive himself, and it was fine. So I'm just gonna pull over into, I'll pull in over here. I'm actually not driving this for 2 weeks and driving a very, very different automobile for the last 2 weeks. I'm literally not used to driving this thing. The characteristics are completely different from Mom's car. Alright, gonna check the wheels. Cool as a cucumber. So yeah, I'm actually, I have to kind of relearn how to drive this thing because everything feels different. First of all, Mom's car is 1 year old and has 8,000 kilometers on it. This thing is 12 years old and has 113,000 kilometers on it. So obviously, after being in Mom's car for 2 weeks, this thing feels twice as old and twice as worn out as it actually is. The tire noise that I can hear, because the tires are 3 years old and yeah, they've got a little bit of wear on them. Still good though. what else? You know, everything just is shaking and rattling a bit more. The engine mounts are going bad, which is a very well-known and well-documented problem on this particular, on the second generation Focus. And it's not a big deal. It's purely a, you know, cosmetic thing. It doesn't affect drivability. The thing just shakes a bit when it's idling. But after being in basically a brand new car for the last 2 weeks, boy, you're not used to it, and it makes you a little nervous, even though it's always been this way, and it's always been fine. This thing is driving exactly the same right now as it always has been before things got a bit funky. But it's funny, you know, Mom's car Mom drives a Buick Encore, so it's a subcompact crossover, and you sit way up higher than this thing. Now this thing, for its time, you sat up way higher than you normally did in a compact sedan. And this was by design. This was something that Ford adopted across all their cars. They called it the command seating, and you sat up high compared to the cars of old. This thing, you sit up so much higher than the car that preceded it, our 2001 Chevy Cavalier. But after being in Mom's car for 2 weeks, sitting down in this thing, I feel like I'm in a Miata. I feel like I'm sitting on the road. And I've always had the seat in this all the way back and all the way down. And it fits me perfectly. This car fits me perfectly. But I've actually put the seat up a little bit because it felt weird in my normal position of being all the way down. So it's just funny getting used to it. But once again, I'm extremely thankful to my now ex-coworker's husband, who has tended to this car every time something stupid happened to it. And he tended to it again today. I bought the caliper, he put it on. Super thankful for his work. And this thing's driving again. But you know what? It's kind of sad because I love this car. But I've gotten to a point where I don't know how much longer I want to keep this on the road. It's 12 years old. In terms of miles, not that much. I mean, cars around here, I mean, usually rust takes them out before anything else does. And this thing's relatively rust-free. It's probably one of the most rust-free second-gen Focuses in this part of the world. These things are notorious for the rocker panels just completely rusting out. This one's a survivor because we undercoated it when we bought it, and for the past 2 years I've gotten a rust check treatment on it. It's not the most rust-free one around here, but it's definitely one of the most rust-free ones that are probably still on the road. Take a look at these. Look at the rockers. Most of them are horrible. But it makes me sad because this car has always been, it's still in beautiful shape. It's never been in an accident or anything. Always super well taken care of, but I'm no longer certain that I want to keep this on the road if I have the opportunity to get another car, because I'm anxious now. This thing's making me anxious. Every time I get in it now, it's just making me anxious. I mean, the only issues it has had is wheels. You know, wheel-related issues. It had a bearing go bad, and now, you know, pretty much the entire front brake system had to be overhauled. And maybe that's just normal. New brakes and stuff are just normal maintenance items. But the fact that all this stuff has happened to this car in just the past year, it makes me very nervous. And I'm starting to have internal conversations with myself as to whether or not I want to keep this on the road and keep driving it, or do I bail and sell it and get something newer. if nothing else goes wrong on this, for at least a while, which would be nice, I think the most economical thing to do is keep this on the road until something major happens to it, like an engine failure or transmission failure or whatever. I think to keep driving this thing is the most economical thing to do, which I do have to take economics into consideration because, you know, I'm still kind of poor. And so if money wasn't a factor, I think I would. I mean, if money wasn't a factor, I would keep this thing and get a new car and just have two cars. Then when one breaks, you got a backup. But I don't know. I mean, if all these little things that cost me a few $100s each time they happen are going to keep happening now, then I might have to consider retiring this thing and selling it, because the anxiety is part of it too, right? Working at the TV station involves a lot of driving, probably once or twice a week. I got to get on the major highway and drive to another town in this thing, and I think my heart's going to be racing every time now. I think, providing no more stupid things go wrong on this, I think the economical thing to do is still to keep driving this thing. And honestly, in my heart, I don't want to get a new car. I love this car. It fits me perfectly. It's aside from the stupid wheel issues that have gone on and 2 oil sending unit replacements, which are very cheap and simple to do, unlike brake part replacements, it's been a very reliable car. It has never not started once in its entire life, and it drives nice despite the shakes and rattles of being a 12-year-old car. It's still a very comfortable car to drive. It really is. All this rambling just to say I'm nervous. I'm not sure what I should do, but I want this car to keep going. I don't think it deserves to be put out to pasture, as in selling it cheap to a new owner to run until it dies. I don't think it deserves that. I want to keep driving this car. I love it. But we will just have to, I'll just have to take it day by day, drive by drive, and see how it goes. And I hope it goes well. Being a fucker. There's a good test of the brakes.